Tonight, 6 hours to go. Melbourne preparing to take the first steps to freedom. The city racing to reopen. Bars getting ready to go from midnight. Hairdressers bracing for a rush after 77 days of lockdown. Victoria closing in on an extraordinary vaccine achievement after a new case surge on a tragic day. The AFL reveals its strict vaccine mandate for next season. And more children head back to school, but extra days off are looming.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell.
Good evening. Welcome to this special edition of 7 News. We're coming to you live from Richmond. It's been a long, painful wait, but 5 million Melburnians are just 6 hours away from taking the first steps out of lockdown. These are pictures coming in live from our news helicopter. As we go to air, the city is racing to reopen, with bars and restaurants working to swing back into action at midnight to celebrate the end of 262 days under pandemic restrictions.
Victoria's last day locked down. And chefs across Melbourne were up at the crack of dawn.
Well, this is the bolognese that's been on for hours.
Restaurants, pubs and cafes can welcome back diners from midnight. Only 20 patrons inside and 50 out, but it's a start.
Scratching at the door, the phone hasn't stopped. The locals are coming back, knocking on the door. Can I get a booking?
The Railway Hotel in South Melbourne weatherproofing its capacity to ensure customers can celebrate. The beer lines are being cleared, ready for kegs to come rolling through the door. Truckloads making their way from CUB's Abbotsford headquarters.
We're producing an extra 50,000 kegs to make sure that Melburnians don't go thirsty. The 50,000 kegs is about 2.5 million litres. 2.5 million litres is equivalent to nearly 9 million pots, or more than 4 million pints.
The curfew is ending, travel limits scrapped, and it's almost time to pack away picnic blankets for a table.
Eat at a restaurant. For sure, we're missing that a lot.
And Melbourne institutions like Mario's in Fitzroy are desperate to get back to doing what they do best.
You know, we're not really made to do takeaway. It's a secondary thing, and our thing really is about people dining in and the atmosphere, the music, food that we put on, the wine that we offer.
Patrons planning to eat out tomorrow must have both jabs. 2 million Victorians have now added their vaccination certificates to the check-in app, ready to participate in a vaccinated economy.
Please help us out and make sure that you've come ready with your QR codes ready to scan and to show us your vaccination status.
The rules are changing at midnight, but police are still waiting to be told how they should enforce them.
Certainly our members haven't been provided with the advice yet at the ground level about what's the setting that should be adopted, how should they go about their day-to-day. It really does turn on the letter of the law.
Kitchens are firing up, but some hospitality staff are scrambling to get a second dose so they can serve customers.
I need to have it for tomorrow because that way we're double jabbed and I'm right to go for work.
The mad rush has left businesses with single-dosed staff struggling to reopen.
But we are looking for around 6 cooks to come in full-time.
Perhaps the most highly anticipated meals will be shared with up to 10 visitors in the home.
The family's coming for an evening meal.
Seeing my children, I think, is the most exciting thing.
It's the 6th time Melburnians have done this. Restrictions are lifting and so is the mood.
Beautiful, can't wait to be out enjoying life again.
The kegs are full and kitchen preparations are in full swing. And Jade Vincent is at the Cherry Bar in the city this evening. Jade, the countdown is on.
It certainly is, Mitch. Cherry Bar here in the city will open its doors at midnight to 20 fully vaccinated and very eager customers who've purchased tickets to come and celebrate the end of lockdown here at this iconic rock and roll venue known for its live music. I'm joined here by owner James Young. James, it won't exactly be rocking though at midnight, will it?
Well, being open for just 20 people is not ideal, but we wanted to be a part of building the bridge back to normality, and we'll have it open from 12 till 4 for 4 hours of power. Luckily, we sold out in just 3 minutes, so it just goes to show that Melbourne is thirsty for rock and roll, thirsty for freedom, and thirsty.
Absolutely. And of course, with those density limits, Mitch, you won't be surprised that Cherry Bar is booked out along with many other Melbourne venues for at least the next 2 weeks.
And thank you. And after a 77-day wait, wild and woolly Melburnians can finally get a haircut. OK, Paul Dowsley doesn't need to worry about that, but plenty of others do. And Paul, the scissors can officially come back out at midnight.
Not long to go, Mitch. Now, it might surprise you, it might not. It's been a while since I've sat in one of these, but tonight it is the hottest ticket in town. The scissors are being sharpened, the clippers are being oiled, the floor has been swept here at the store DeBarge in Mount Waverley. Paul is ready. He's got his weapons of choice. Yes, we do. They will be open at midnight, and for those first cuts, they will be donating the proceeds from that to the Cancer Council. As businesses like this tick down until midnight for these new freedoms, can't come soon enough for them. This footpath will become a hairdressing salon at midnight as some businesses move outside when lockdown ends.
Like anything in life, you've got to give it a shot.
A powered marquee will house 4 clients outside to cut and colour more than just the 5 allowed inside.
We're going to have trolleys, we're going to have our chairs, we're going to have our mirrors, we're going to have everything. So if Dan wants some foils, or Brett or Martin, pop down. Even some hair extensions.
They're booked out for 2 months. His first client tomorrow is at 4:30am. Long days to help clear the backlog. Others are opening even earlier.
As soon as the clock ticks 12 and the clients get down here, we start cutting.
But they will be staying inside.
It's a cut out there in the wind, the rain. It cannot happen.
Just to open, even to small numbers, brings so much relief to so many battered businesses.
3 weeks ago, there was a fair bit of, COVID, it's not your right to see my vaccination status, blah, blah, blah. We've not met any resistance at all. The mindset has really changed.
Kim Evans focuses on shorter hair, eyelashes and eyebrows, but the excitement about tomorrow is the same.
It is just amazing. It's incredible because it's been so long.
She'll be tinting and tweezing from just after midnight and working right through the night and day because after so long without pampering...
You look like a wildebeest.
Retail can reopen too, but outside only. So here, clothes will be on the footpath, browsing in the breeze with a mirror to help.
No change room, and we mainly can sell tops, and we are offering cash refunds.
They're ready for the weather. What happens when it rains?
We'll roll it in.
And thieves.
We were worried about pilfering. We've got alarms on our clothes. This is something completely new. This is just adapting to the times.
For 10 days.
For 10 days. Hopefully only 5. Yes, only 5.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
And in sporting news, the AFL has released its vaccination policy. Andrew McCormack has the details, and Andrew, the league is taking a hardline stance.
Mitch, every AFL and AFLW player and staff member will need to be vaccinated by February, or simple, they won't be able to play or train. The league has announced a staggered state-by-state deadline for players to get their COVID jabs. The majority, of course, have already come forward and are double dosed, but the AFL concedes not every player will comply to their mandate.
I think we'll be talking about a small handful of players, and we'll continue to work with those players, provide them education and also health advice in relation to that.
Now, players who refuse or don't have a medical exemption can be stood down on 25% of the minimum AFL wage. That'll be 25% of an AFLW player's individual contract. They can have their contract terminated with the player's agreement, and clubs can delist an unvaccinated player as of May 18 next year. Mitch?
Andrew McCormack in the newsroom, thank you. Melbourne is powering towards the 80% double dose vaccination mark to trigger more freedoms. We're now on track to be one of the highest vaccinated jurisdictions in the world.
From the most lockdown city in the world to a title we can finally be proud of.
We are on track to become one of the most highly vaccinated jurisdictions in the world.
The Prime Minister was also up and about.
I can officially confirm, just got the figures. Victoria has reached 70.51% vaccination rate, double dose, right across the state.
And we're closing in on the 90% first dose mark.
These are truly phenomenal vaccine rates.
Victoria is now predicted to hit the 80% double dose target on October 30 and could reach 90% fully vaxxed just 9 days later.
We have just over 500,000 second doses to go to hit the 80% double dose threshold.
Coles, Aldi and Woolworths have also mandated the vaccine for 250,000 workers in stores and distribution warehouses.
The final tool in our pandemic plan is pop-up clinics like this one here in Fawkner. 9 will be set up across suburbs including Frankston, Collingwood and Sunshine, where vaccination rates are lower among younger people.
We're doing everything we can to hit our next vaccine milestone as quickly as we possibly can, but to also make sure that nobody is left behind.
Headspace staff will also be on site to chat to our younger Victorians about keeping more than physical health.
Hopefully a good prompt for them to think about how to look after their mental health at the same time as get a vaccination.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
While most of Melbourne is about to celebrate the end of lockdown, our hospitals are providing a reality check. Healthcare workers are bracing for a surge in case numbers as our death toll reaches a grim milestone.
Inside the Monash COVID ward, their youngest patient, 11-year-old Jeton, is now fully recovered, much to the relief of his mum, Sandra.
Very, very happy actually. It's been a long road.
Lewis was admitted here yesterday, fortunate not to be on a ventilator. Staff under such stress, it brings a cardiologist under secondment to this ward close to tears.
We know this is a preventable condition and we know the vaccine works. And our patients, but my patients particularly with chronic heart disease, need to be vaccinated, otherwise COVID will kill them.
Here they have mixed feelings about opening up.
Our staff are really frightened that we're not going to be able to meet the demands and that we're going to have patients die as a consequence.
And how do you feel about that personally?
Yeah, it's awful. As a doctor, all you want to do is help people, and this is really testing our ability to do that.
Here's why. 2,232 cases today, the second highest ever recorded in Australia. 12 people died with COVID. The Victorian virus toll now more than 1,000 overall. But some good news. Drops in hospitalisations to 779. Those in ICU also down to 141, 96 on ventilators. And staff here are bracing themselves for a Freedom Day surge in COVID cases, probably in a week to 10 days. As Jeton and his mum head home, this stark warning.
It's tight and stretched now. You know, I'm not going to say it's not. It is challenging now. So we're going to be in for tougher times ahead.
COVID's everywhere now. You have to assume it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when you'll get COVID. And vaccine is your only protection, that's for sure.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
The boss of the state's 000 call-taking agency has quit. Marty Smith resigned from Esther despite saying earlier this month it would not be right to leave during a crisis. A review into the authority is underway after unprecedented demand caused a blowout in people waiting for an ambulance. There's reassuring news for parents with fresh COVID research confirming it is safe for students to attend school. It comes as more children headed back to the classroom today.
Today, years 1 and 2 finally swapped online classes for the classroom.
We haven't been able to see each other properly, and we just have to be digital.
Thursdays and Fridays are their days at school under the staggered return to face-to-face learning.
It's good. It's a relief. After so long, homeschooling was not easy for some.
As we emerge from lockdown and COVID cases climb, some schools like Furbank Grammar have begun rapid antigen testing for students and teachers on arrival, but the virus has already crept into others. Berwick Lodge Primary just one of 40 that's been forced to close.
By now, after 3 of these cases, we already have 30 of my 55 staff
self-isolating, including both my assistant principals.
A new report from the Murdoch Children's Research Institute insists it is safe for schools to remain open even if there's a case. It found the best way to protect kids is to protect the adults around them.
If you're a parent and you're sending your child to school, please get vaccinated. It's going to be a little bit rocky working some of that out as we start up. But remember, the main game is for kids to be back in school.
Parents have expressed frustration that just as children are heading back to the classroom, many schools have scheduled curriculum days during Cup Week. But teachers say student-free days are vital for administration, planning and report writing.
Curriculum days play a very important part around ensuring that the work we do with our students is of the highest quality.
Students in years 5, 6, 7, 10 and 11 will return to school tomorrow. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
For many people across Melbourne, today feels a little like Christmas Eve. Sonia Marinelli is in Yarraville this evening, and Sonia, the mood is mostly one of excitement and pride.
That's right, Mitch. No doubt there is some anxiety in the community ahead of tonight's reopening, but most Melburnians are excited and they're just ready to get on with it. In the final hours of what could be our last lockdown, no fanfare, just a chilled vibe and an overwhelming sense of relief. How are you feeling?
Oh yeah, we're happy to be able to be back at school and getting back to some normal activities.
What are you looking forward to most?
Seeing our friends and family.
It'd be really nice to go and see your friends again and sit down and have people at your house.
Just to be social again, I think that's really high on our agenda, and just to see those loved ones that we haven't been able to see.
I'm excited for going on holidays again and going back to school with my friends.
I'm just going to go out and see friends.
To go to a restaurant and having a lunch or dinner.
But first things first.
And go to the hairdressers.
Oh yeah. We're going to go get a beautiful haircut, take this mullet off.
Counting down.
77 days locked down, and it's taken its toll on all of us. How hard has it been being separated from your family this entire time?
Absolutely terrible. Yeah, terrible. The 2-year-old thinks I live in the telephone.
Have missed out on the most of school and stuff like that.
It's been hard. Harder than the first one even.
This last one, I've got to say, has taken a bit of a mental toll on me, just by where's the end?
But the beginning of the end is almost here. Small freedoms just hours away.
Can't quite believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now from our rooftop here at Public House in Richmond. Not a bad little setup. And Jane, how's it looking at midnight tonight?
Well, what a lovely feel to have all of that warm weather come back to Melbourne today. We reached a top of 26, which is absolutely lovely.
Very nice.
It's still 24 out there now, and that high cloud that you can see behind me just over the city there, that is going to work in our favour this evening, and that traps that heat in, so we should still be up on 20, maybe the high teens by midnight. It is staying dry, so perfect Melbourne weather to head out later tonight.
And any hints for the weekend?
Well, it's warm and dry again tomorrow. There's a late change, so we are heading downhill for the weekend. I'll have all those details up to spot.
Okay, thanks very much, Jane. Still to come tonight, $1 million reward to help find Cleo. Desperate new tactics in the search for a little girl. Also, walkers warned to watch out as cliff breaks away on the Surf Coast. Crown's massive payout deals revealed in the fallout over a gambling scandal. And later, new research on what a dairy boost can do for our seniors. Police have made an arrest over a road rage crash at Flemington. 2 men suffered serious injuries when their car slammed into a pole a week ago. Police believe they were being followed by a Holden Commodore. A 38-year-old Keilor Downs man has been questioned but has been released without charge. $1 million reward is being offered in the desperate search to find 4-year-old Cleo Smith. She disappeared 6 days ago, and detectives now believe she was abducted from the family's tent.
Still missing, still missed.
Cleo Smith. Police increasingly believe the 4-year-old girl was taken. Now there's $1 million reward for the taking.
Hopefully bring Cleo back safe and sound.
Someone knows something, and they will be paid if they can help find the girl in pink, who disappeared in the WA outback 5 days ago.
If you have seen anything, if you know anything, please call Crime Stoppers. 1800 333 000 or walk into any police station across Australia.
Cleo was missing from the family tent on Saturday morning, gone when they woke up at 6 a.m. The zipper was left open higher than the 4-year-old could reach, and the little girl's sleeping bag missing with her. But while they think she's been taken, no one's taking any chances. The ground search continues today. But the focus is increasingly moving beyond outback WA. If someone took Cleo, by now they could be anywhere. Perhaps that's why the effort to find her is spreading everywhere. Bumper stickers, news bulletins here and abroad. She may be lost, but hope isn't. Not yet. And tonight there's 1 million new reasons to help find one little girl. Joey Catanzaro, 7 News.
A secret recording of a foul-mouthed tirade has exposed divisions within the Victorian Liberal Party. Opposition MPs repeatedly swore at each other during a party room stoush over gay conversion therapy.
As the state prepares to reopen, the Victorian Liberals are opening old wounds, reigniting internal debate over gay conversion therapy in a fiery party room exchange leaked to the media.
We gave commitment. Tim, you might not care about commitments, but a lot of us do. I can read you, fool. Read the thing. It's got... You are a...
The Andrews government passed a bill in February making it illegal to try to change a person's sexual orientation. Then opposition leader Michael O'Brien promised to wind back the law, but new leader Matthew Guy and MP James Newbury now say no changes will be made.
What do we say to those communities that we gave ironclad guarantees to earlier this year? What do we say to them who are now looking at us and saying, you people can't be trusted?
From a Nationals point of view, we will not be supporting change on his position, and you can go and get...
An investigation is now underway into who made the covert recording.
That was a revealing insight into the rabble that is the Victorian opposition.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Crown Resort shareholders have stopped short of throwing out the company's board during its AGM. But the gaming giant isn't out of the woods yet. A decision on its Victorian licence is expected to be made in coming days.
Crown Resorts is used to heavy blows. At today's annual meeting, shareholders delivered a fresh strike against executive pay.
Particular concerns have been expressed in relation to the end of the employment arrangements with former executives.
The termination payouts include $3.3 million to former CEO Ken Barton, $3.2 to ex-Australian Resorts boss Barry Felsted, and $3.1 for ex-Strategy Vice President Todd Nisbet. But shareholders rejected calling for a spill that would have forced Crown's board to stand for re-election.
Basically revamping their entire board and management has given them a clean slate, and with all the issues that have been raised over the past couple of years, it was something that the regulators were really looking towards.
Shareholders today backed giving new CEO Steve McCann a $5 million sweetener to sign on, pinning their hopes on the former Lend-Lease boss to salvage the company.
We must do things differently to how they've been done in the past.
But Crown is still fighting for a gaming licence to operate Sydney's Barangaroo Casino, while the outcomes of royal commissions in Victoria and WA still loom large. Within days, the gaming giant will find out if it gets to keep the licence for its flagship Melbourne casino. Gemma Acton, 7 News.
There's an alert for more landslips on the coastline at Anglesea. A section of the cliff at Demon's Bluff crashed down onto the beach this morning.
We heard this big boom, like boom, like that. So it was like a mine blast.
An exclusion zone is keeping walkers off a stretch of sand from the caravan park all the way to Grinders Point. There's no impact to traffic on the Great Ocean Road. International tourists could be back in Melbourne by Christmas. Exclusive details are coming up next. Also, why we might have to get used to parcels arriving late. A warning for commuters, level crossing projects delayed. And the Queen told to rest up. Commuters and drivers across Melbourne are facing longer than expected disruptions. Work on 8 level crossing removal projects has been delayed by about 3 weeks. Travellers on the Lilydale, Williamstown and Cranbourne-Pakenham lines are being warned to check for updated timetable information. Victorians are facing more delivery chaos in the lead up to Christmas with Star Trek drivers on strike. They walked off the job today during a record online shopping boom.
The union calls them heroes of the pandemic, helping deliver COVID vaccines.
What do you want? Job security!
But strike action by transport workers will delay crucial deliveries.
And these workers were running the virus gauntlet before there was a vaccine in sight. They've done their piece for the community.
Nationwide, around 2,000 members of the Transport Workers Union employed at the Australia Post-owned Star Trek walked off the job at midnight. Several hundred workers went on strike in Victoria.
Now! What do we want? Job security! When do we want it? Now!
Star Trek deliveries continued today at a reduced level. One insider estimated capacity was down by 25%. As we count down to Christmas, there is the prospect of further disruption to deliveries. At this stage, the company and the union have yet to set a date for more talks. Star Trek has offered workers a 3-year deal which includes annual 3% wage rises.
We want to know that we've got jobs back here, right, tomorrow, the next day, the next year and the following years after that as well.
The delivery of medical supplies, including vaccines, was prioritised today to minimise any disruption. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Australia is moving quickly on the plan to reopen our borders, with international students given the all clear to return by Christmas. Tourists could also be allowed in sooner than expected.
In New South Wales, he vetoed the New South Wales Premier's plan to throw open the international borders within 2 weeks.
In the Australian way, we move cautiously, but we move deliberately.
But now Scott Morrison's cautiously planning to welcome international tourists back before Christmas.
On international visitors, well, we'll see how Australians coming back first goes.
If that does go well, thousands of tourists could return by late December to states that will accept them, with foreign students and foreign workers returning even sooner.
We'll start seeing that in late November, early December.
7 News can reveal Federal Education Minister Alan Tudge has written to the Victorian government supporting a plan to welcome 240 fully vaccinated international students a fortnight back from December, joining New South Wales planning to accept 250 a fortnight, South Australia 160, with no plans yet in Queensland or WA.
International students bring more than 260,000 jobs with them. We really look forward to the day when we can welcome these really valuable contributors back.
The unofficial timetable for the return of international tourists is much sooner than the National Cabinet plan, but senior government sources warn it all hinges on the reopening of New South Wales and Victoria going smoothly.
We don't want to see what's happened in other parts of the world where people have moved too fast.
But he also doesn't want to move too slowly. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The Queen is resting at Windsor Castle tonight after cancelling a trip to Northern Ireland on the advice of her doctors. The 95-year-old monarch isn't unwell, but now questions are being raised about her workload.
It's a demanding schedule for anyone, let alone at 95 years of age.
I do think perhaps sometimes the people that organise her programme should try and pace things a little bit. And I think 1 or 2 people are concerned about that because she's very reluctant to say no. And she will always agree to doing as much as possible because she doesn't want to disappoint people.
But on this occasion, the Queen did so reluctantly, with Buckingham Palace revealing she'd accepted medical advice to cancel her trip. Her Majesty is in good spirits and is disappointed that she will no longer be able to visit Northern Ireland, where she had been due to undertake a series of engagements today and tomorrow. Officials say the Queen's decision to rest up here at Windsor Castle over the next few days isn't related to COVID, it's more about pacing herself. At this stage, she is expected to attend the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow at the end of this month.
I do know, however, that when she was in Balmoral in the summer, she was out riding at least 5 times while she was there. So, we're not talking about someone who is in any way incapable, but certainly a reminder of her advancing years.
In Windsor, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
There's developing news on the Melbourne Grand Prix. Next, Sydney is staking a claim. Details are live from Albert Park. Also, Melbourne's race to reopen goes down to the wire. A crackdown on hoons in our northern suburbs and why seniors should be considering a dairy boost. There's breaking news tonight on the future of the Melbourne Formula One Grand Prix. Christy Cooper is at Albert Park with the exclusive details. And Christy, Sydney is trying to pinch it.
Yes, they are, Mitch. 7 News can reveal sensitive high-level talks are underway within the New South Wales government. They've tried to steal the Grand Prix from us before. This was from a promotional stunt in 2005. We understand New South Wales ministers are keen to try again, but this time history could work against us. The event was aborted in 2020 due to COVID and cancelled again this year. Our contract is up in 2025. With the rivalry between states already fierce, no doubt Victoria will fight very hard to try and keep it, Mitch.
Christy Cooper at Albert Park, thank you. As we saw earlier, Melbourne's hospitality industry is about to take a big step out of lockdown. Brooke Hornung joins us now from the Moondog Brewery in Preston. And Brooke, take us through the emotions of finally being able to reopen.
Mitch, we are absolutely stoked to be opening up tomorrow. It's been a pretty wild ride. I don't think anyone thought, last year that we'd be in it for so long, and you almost sort of forget what the other side of it looks like. But to be coming out of it tomorrow, I know the team's absolutely stoked, and I don't think it's anyone's favourite job coming in here and cleaning glasses all week and getting the place ready, but I tell you what, it's a pretty lonely venue when it's all empty, so we're absolutely stoked to have the staff and get people back in tomorrow as well.
How tough has it been over the past 21 months coming in and out of constant lockdowns?
Yeah, look, it's been incredibly difficult. For us as a business, it's been very, very tough, and there's no doubt the hospitality industry has been one of the hardest hit industries. So that's been very difficult. And then, of course, for our staff too, all the casual staff, we feel absolutely terrible for every time there's another lockdown. And we've even found a lot of staff, unfortunately, have decided to move into other industries. So I don't know if it's a little bit cheeky of me, but if anyone is looking for work and wants to get behind the bar or in the kitchen or in the brewery, we'd absolutely love to have you out here.
Not cheeky at all, Brooke. Thank you very much. It's an exciting time for Melbourne. Good luck.
Thanks, Mitch.
A hoon crackdown in the northern suburbs has led to the arrests of 2 reservoir men. It follows an investigation into dirt bike riding and illegal hoon meets in Epping and Thomastown. Former New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian has been called to front a corruption inquiry next Thursday. It's investigating whether Ms Berejiklian breached public trust over dealings with her former boyfriend, Daryl Maguire. A body has been found in the search for the boyfriend of a murdered American travel blogger. Brian Laundrie sparked a massive manhunt after his girlfriend, Gabby Petito, was found dead during a cross-country road trip. Police are working to confirm the body belongs to the murder suspect. It was found not far from his parents' Florida home. New research reveals eating more dairy can reduce the risk of falls and fractures in the elderly. It's as simple as adding 3.5 serves of milk, cheese and yoghurt to your diet every day.
Shona Grant worries about getting frail as she gets older, so she's using her diet to slow down the ageing process.
I was horrified when I went and had my first bone density scan to find that my bones weren't as good as I thought they were. Every day I have yogurt every single morning. It's part of my breakfast.
Melbourne University researchers say she's on to something. A study of over 7,000 aged care residents found upping dairy intake from 2 serves to 3.5 provided a 33% reduction in all fractures, with 46% fewer hip fractures and 11% fewer falls.
Maintaining muscle and maintaining bone that ideally allowed them to stop falling and fracturing.
If you want to increase your daily dose of dairy, experts say adding another slice of cheese to any meal and having milk in your tea and coffee is a good start.
It's real food, it's easily accessible. We have such a great range of dairy products available.
It's important to be aware of ageing gracefully and not invisibly.
Georgia Commons Solly, 7 News.
Sport is next with Tim Watson, and Tim David Warner has plenty of support in his corner.
He does. Mitchie's batting woes continue ahead of the World Cup. The Aussie opener giving selectors a headache after yet another failure. Tom Mitchell surprises some footy fans and addresses Hawthorn's turbulent trade period. A Cox Plate fancy in doubt, leaving jockey Damien Oliver dumbfounded. And Melbourne's Josh Giddey creates history in the NBA. Welcome back. Australian teammates are rallying around David Warner, whose batting woes are worsening ahead of the T20 World Cup. It comes as his potential Ashes opening partner earmarks his return from concussion.
Desperate for form, David Warner lasted just 7 balls.
Well, that should be close. That should be close and given.
David's a class player. He's got a dozen years of credits in the bank where he's been fantastic.
A single run to go with a golden duck in the Aussies' first warm-up match. It's far from the ideal preparation.
We're certainly not judging him just on the last, little bit.
Davey's Davey. I'm actually backing that he'll have a pretty big World Cup and a massive Ashes for us, to be honest.
We all know he's 1 score away from having a huge tournament, so let's back him in.
Australia's troubles against the spin laid bare. Mitch Marsh and Aaron Finch also departed in the first 3 overs. Steve Smith, though, showed his worth with 57 off 48 balls.
Shot in the slot and will go for 4.
I feel like I'm in a good place with my game, and hopefully the guys have got a bit out of these last 2 hit-outs, these practice games.
With the Vicks getting back to work, Warner's possible test opening partner Will Pekoski is targeting a Shield return in a fortnight.
He's a pretty resilient guy now. If you go through these many setbacks, you've got to have something about you.
Recovering from concussion all too familiar, his Ashes hopes far from over.
He can hit the ground running, as he did last year in the 2 Sheffield Shield games where he got 2 200s. So, if he was good enough to come and do something like that again, I think the Australian selectors would definitely have something to consider.
Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
Damien Oliver and Kieran Maher face a nervous wait after Cox Plate Chance Gold Trip failed a vet inspection ahead of Saturday's race. The $12 chance was found to be lame and will be scratched if it doesn't pass another examination tomorrow.
I find it unusual that no one's actually asked me how it felt, because I'm the one that's, putting my neck on the line riding the horse, and for me he's sound and I have no problems with his action, and I'm very comfortable to ride him.
New Zealand runner call sign Mav is also in doubt after failing a vet inspection at Werribee. Senior Hawthorn players are getting right behind their new coach Sam Mitchell's vision despite a turbulent trade period. But Brownlow medalist Tom Mitchell denied he and a host of other big names were put up for trade.
With Melbourne's 6th lockdown coming to an end, it almost feels like Christmas. And Tom Mitchell came bearing gifts for this lucky teenager.
G'day, Tom.
Mitchell is the brains behind coaching app Ball Magnets, now with over 10,000 users.
All right, so we'll just do like normal lane work, but there's 2 footies going at the same time. We've got, Toby Green teaching forward craft, Paddy Cripps teaching stoppage craft, the best stoppage player in the game. Myself and Lachie Neale doing more ball handling stuff.
It looked like Mitchell could have called some of those big names teammates as well as business partners at times throughout the trade period, but the Brownlow medalist insists talk of major upheaval at Waverley Park was off the mark.
He was probably perceived to be messy from the outside, but at no point were any of us leaving. At no point were The names have been thrown around: Gunners, Chad, Jagger, myself. Ever going to be traded?
A quick chat with the New Hawks coach before the silly season, soothing any anxiety.
We spoke to Sam, but it was just to reassure that nothing was happening really. So that was the only conversation we had. It went for about a minute, and I don't think any of us were ever up for trade. So we're fully on board, and we're right behind Sam and the coaching staff to see what we can do together.
And it's clear Sam Mitchell's first year in charge won't be just about development.
Melbourne only a couple of years ago finished second bottom, so teams can come from anywhere. Richmond was similar, so there's examples all across the league, and there's no reason why we can't be the same.
Maybe with the help of some of these budding superstars in the years to come. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Melbourne teenager Josh Giddey has become the youngest Australian to play in the NBA. The point guard only turned 19 last week, making his debut for Oklahoma City with 4 points and 10 rebounds in their loss to Joe Ingles and the Utah Jazz. His dad and Melbourne Tigers champion of the 90s, Warwick Giddey, was proud as punch.
To think that he was going to end up where he is now, 2 years ago, you could have slapped me and knocked me out type of thing. But, it's just the whole journey's been amazing.
Elsewhere, the 76ers didn't miss the suspended Ben Simmons, thumping the Pelicans 117-97. And a buzzer beater from Boston forced their game into overtime against the Knicks before New York prevailed by 4. Cristiano Ronaldo has come to Manchester United's rescue in the Champions League.
When you need a hero, you've got an ultimate hero. Cristiano Ronaldo rises.
His late header iced a 3-2 win over Atalanta after the Red Devils clawed their way back from a 2-0 deficit at half-time. And that's sport. Mitch and Jane, back to you in Richmond.
Good on you, Tim. It's a beautiful evening over here in Tigerland. And Jane, you've got the all-important forecast coming up.
Mitch, I do indeed. Our first day out of lockdown. It looks warm and dry, but it won't last. I'll have the full weekend weather details next. Definitely heading.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, live for the countdown to Melbourne's reopening. Where's Cleo Smith, a $1 million reward, every development from the WA search zone? What's next for the Queen after doctors forced her to rest? We'll go live to Windsor Castle and inside the strange new twist in the hunt for Gabby Petito's killer. New details from the US. That's the latest from 7 News at 10:30.
Hello again. Warm weather has finally arrived in Melbourne, and what better to enjoy it than on one of Melbourne's rooftops. And the good news is, if you're thinking about heading out tonight at midnight for our first taste of freedom, then conditions, they couldn't be better. We reached a top of 26 in the city thanks to a breezy northerly wind. There is a high cloud overhead that will work in our favour tonight to keep the warm air trapped in. At midnight, it should still be up in the high teens. That is warmer than any day earlier this week. Here's the cloud that is moving across Victoria. There's just the lightest bit of rain underneath, and most are completely dry. Much of the state rose into the 20s, even 30 in the northwest. A high to our southeast brings this warmer weather. There is a trough over South Australia, but it is incredibly slow moving. That'll take until Friday night to reach central Victoria. Until that arrives, we stay warm. It's 26 again tomorrow in Melbourne, this time in lots of sunshine. So that's perfect for stretching your legs in our newfound freedom. But that trough arrives here at night. It'll bring a cold change along with thunderstorms and steady rain drenches all of Melbourne. Around the nation tomorrow, lots of showers in Brisbane. There's the risk of a severe thunderstorm. Sydney and Perth are mild and partly cloudy. Sunshine for Adelaide before showers there at night. To Victoria, watch that trough line. Once that is to your east, the temperature drops. But it is slow, so eastern Victoria remains warm all day. On and ahead of that cold change, we have showers and thunderstorms, then areas of rain in the southwest at night. Closer in, here's our fantastic Friday. Temperatures rise to the mid to high 20s. But then there's showers and thunderstorms later on with a cold change, and that tends to steady rain at night. The city has a great day. It reaches 26 again, this time with lots of sunshine. But it certainly gets complicated later on. Let's break it down. There's a cold change around 6 p.m. There's a risk of thunderstorms between about 4 and 8 p.m. They're hit and miss, so lots of places stay dry. Then steady rain begins later in the evening. So it could actually be quite dry while we're out and about, but there's a risk of downpours before that rain starts later. That rain is steady overnight. It brings 10 to 25 millimetres. Then Saturday morning actually looks quite dry before lots of showers in the afternoon. But it is cooler on Saturday, 17, most of the wet weather after lunchtime. On Sunday, there's just the odd shower moving through, a mix of sunshine and cloud. It is still cool, we're 16. And Monday, still 16. We've got southerly winds in there. It is generally dry. There's a fair bit of cloud around during the day. On Tuesday, there's cloud early. That clears. We go back to bright sunshine. It rises to 21. Then Wednesday is the peak of next week, sunny and 27, ahead of a change later on Thursday. So we're warm and dry tomorrow. It's a top of 26 until a late cold change that does bring the risk of a thunderstorm. Then, Mitch, there is lots of rain to follow later on tomorrow.
That's a pretty ordinary weekend, Jane, let's be honest, but I'm sure the hospitality industry won't mind one bit.
I think they'll do whatever it needs to get all of those people out enjoying themselves.
Exactly right. Thank you very much, Jane. Now, here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. When you wake up, Freedom Friday.
As lockdown finally ends in Melbourne, Sunrise has everything you need to know for the new beginning. The first haircut, the first beer, our crews are where Melbourne celebrates.
And all the details on back to school, back to work, and where and when you can all start travelling again. See you, Victoria, for the historic morning.
And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 21st of October. Hopefully Melbourne's last day in lockdown. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team and everyone here, good night.